Rebonjour, très heureux de vous retrouver sur cette scène.
Welcome back. It is a pleasure to see you here today. At the end of the morning, we'll have exciting times, at least this is my personal opinion. First, we'll be welcoming David Dufresne. He will tell us about his experience and provide us with a case study of Fort McMoney. We will then have the second pitch session at the heart of the Cross Video Days. We have the content creators and their creations and works. David Dufresne is coming on the stage. Good morning. David. How are you? Fine, excellent. You've been here for 2 days. It's the first year. We're very happy about that and very happy about you being our patron. What are your feedbacks? Could you meet people over those 2 days? Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet many people. Salespersons, producers, authors, but also old friends I hadn't met for many years who come from freeware, the freeware industry. I was very touched as I met Alexandre Brachet, who was the genuine patron, and here talking to us about the schooling law, the law on the education. I am very pleased to see that we're talking about cinema, about movies, about Alfred Hitchcock and Hervé Bazin. Two problems, in my view. The cafe, there are too many people, I couldn't get a coffee. You should have asked me as a patron. This is what I'm doing, so I need a coffee. And second, those booths from the scam, those deck chairs from the scam, I don't understand the point here. Do I have to lay down on my right as a right holder? Yeah, we had two deck chairs, and we saw that yesterday SXSW took part in a debate, and today we have a second one. This debate on those deck chairs are very pleasant because it's the summer and there is no subtext, there is no underlying meaning added to that. These are our beloved partners, and I am very happy to hear that you had the opportunity to meet many people. Fort McMoney was probably one of the major events this year, and it is our great pleasure to have you presenting to us in person your feedback and your experience on this. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to get this coffee. Good morning. Fort McMoney means 2.5 years of my life, 2.5 years of work for a large team. My presentation is originally intended to last 1.5 hours. I'll try to shorten it a bit. If you have questions, feel free to ask after the presentation. At the very beginning, we have a story, because you need a story. Without a story, you will only produce technology. Technology is not pushing, is not expressing stories, in my view. A story has, in line with Hitchcock's view, to remain at the heart of the project. The project is in Fort McMoney in Alberta and Canada. It is the third largest oil basin in the world, and it used to be a very fast-spreading city, as it was in North America in the last 200 years, as it has been. There was an incredible growth. And over 3 winters, together with Philippe Prix, we have been shooting with a temperature of minus 30 degrees Celsius, and this choice was motivated by aesthetical and cinema and movie-related reasons, because we refer to the Coen brothers, Fargo, The Old Man. We will have to look for the next reference. And you have to know that a human being is far more robust and resistant than the Canon camera. So we could endure the cold in a much better way. Oil, I use it, we use it, everybody, every one of us uses it. We breathe oil, we think oil. And traveling there, I wanted to question our dependency, our addiction on and to this finite resource. I then went to the National Film Office in Canada, ONF, and they told me that they had a problem called green tiredness, which means that books, movies, and narratives dedicated to environmental issues are not successful, do not meet their audiences. And this is why I told them that I wanted to start a game, a documentary game, because, I'm sorry, I have to drink. Because this oil issue is fundamental, and we might, using a game, challenge this green fatigue. We are all grown-up people, but maybe we forget that, but the game is a very strong didactic level. And using the game, we can tackle the real life and talk about it. So we decided to replicate a SimCity in real life. So I am going to take off, I can tell you. So we will reuse this SimCity, the concept of a game born in the 1980s, consisting in building a city, being the mayor of the city, and managing this city. So this is what we offered. You will become a member of this existing city, Fort McMurray, which we will transform into a virtual city called Fort McMoney. We would like to question democracy. Can democracy be dissolved within oil? Because this is probably our future nightmare. When you go to the fitness club, this is a total one, and the entire city is held by the oil companies and by those brands, Total, Shell, and others. And I have to say that my CO2 level is really horrible since I've been working on this project. I'm using lots of oil. I try to be fast, therefore I do not mention what you see on the slides. 2 years of work, 60 days of shooting, filming, and so on. You will then have a look at a demo, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, telling you about the mechanism that we've been setting up. And then I will tell you how we manage this.
World's Edge. Fort McMurray, an area the size of Florida, larger than Hungary. You are embarking on a documentary game in which everything is real. The places, the events, the characters. The choices you will make will determine your experience and will affect the other players in the game. You're in a campground on the outskirts of Fort McMurray. This is where your experience truly begins. Talk to the occupants. Search everywhere, in front of you, on the ground. Click on the clues. Don't miss anything.
We'll leave that one there. We'll just leave it there. Well, I used to be a produce manager until my alcohol got the best of me. And I like landscaping outside. I go to Ontario in the summer sometimes, landscaping. But I haven't this past summer because my rent is too expensive to leave this place. So I stayed here all summer. Syncoot and Suncor, they do a good job, but they help a lot out. I hear they could pay more taxes, but they sure help a lot of the town out, though.
Your mission? To visit Fort McMurray, measure what's at stake, vote on referendums, and debate with other players, and find a way to achieve the impossible, to get into the heart of the oil mines. Have a good trip. It's your turn to play.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Donc, comme tout n'est que remix et clin d'œil à ce qui vous a précédé,
Everything is a remix and a hint at what we saw previously. Here you see, for example, a hint at SimCity. I mean, the original one, the 1989 version with a very fantastic graphic design. 1989, two events, the fall of the Berlin Wall and SimCity. Well, while moving through the documentary, you are winning points. If you skip a video, you don't win the points. So you can move faster, but you don't earn points. If you want to win points, then you have to explore the city as much as possible, which will lead you to votes and decisions to make concerning the characters. This collective experience will enable you, all the players in the entire world, to transform, to change the city. Initially we had 3 episodes, now we only have actually the 3 of them. In the last 20 years, video game industry has really been able to take revenge on linear content. There has been a revolution in grammar, syntax, and structure of games. As a documentary maker, this is an interesting grammar to use. Another syntax, another grammar that has been turned upside down in the recent years is the one of a series from Scandinavian country, from Swedish countries. We have seen that they really brought a U-turn and turned the writing techniques upside down. We have various examples of this, which brings us to many gathering moments and collective times. We have first the social, second the economic, and third the social, the environmental dimension. My friend could not understand my project, and this is why one day, using chalk on a big walk, I drew the path, a possible path through the first week. All the players first arrive on the camping site, a camping ground which is right at the entrance of the city. And here you have 3 options leading you to hundreds of other possible ways. So nobody has the same path, nobody has the same options, the same characters, the same possibility, nobody sees the same places, nobody collects the same clues. Second week is following the same pattern. This is 100% non-linear content, and the last week we were very tired, and we thought that you as a viewer, as a user, would be tired too. So this is a shorter week which is easier and more of a linear path, because in the end everybody had to find a common exit in order to generate a debate amongst the users. The player's position, we are talking about players, and they have multiple perspectives and points of view. You can be in the shoes of the viewer who would, similar to the GTA game, is visiting or exploring this city. If you want to engage in discussions, if you want to vote, if you want to take on temporary missions and challenges, if you want to share the program. In other words, if you want to move from the 90 to the 9 to the 1% of users category, you have this option. Each web user may behave in a different way. You can be a merely lean-back viewer and stay for a very short period of time, spend a few times on the game, or you can stay for like 8 hours. And if you do so, I will be more than happy, and my producers will give you a hug, because we want to have as many people as possible to enter the story and to take part in this story. The viewer's position is changing in our project, as well as the director's position. We started a system with a game master who further directs the movie in another way. When the game is online, after 2 years of work, we thought that it was over. Same as when you're broadcasting a movie on RT or FTV, you think that it's over. You're very sad, you have a kind of baby blues, and all those who are authors or directors in the room know what I mean. To us, this is the opposite. When it's online, this is the very onset, the day when everything starts. You engage or open up this possibility for the players to express their feedback. This is something we've been arranging and directing, orchestrating as a game master in order to support the player, help them moving forwards, and discuss together.
Excusez-moi.
So that was Game Master. On this slide, you can see the internal workings. It shows how we worked. So we went and reconnaissanced the area. We found some homeless people who were working for the petrol industry and were then homeless and were living in the street. We went up to Montreal, and we were wondering whether what we had filmed was suitable, and how could we engage the user, how could they feel that they were in the city, i.e. calculating the distance for filming people. So there was a lot of work to do with prototyping, including the actual shooting. So for example, with interviews, were we going to film them for very close? And the answer was that we filmed them very close, so that because the screen that they were going to be screened on was going to be very small, and so we wanted to see all the expressions. And then with the game design, we were assisted by Florent Morin and Olivier Morcon, 2 French people, and Guillaume Perrault, a Canadian. And we explored a number of ideas. With traditional games, for example, you can talk with the characters, and we wanted to incorporate the same thing in our video. And then it was a question of whether we were going to do this alone, whether it's going to be a multiplayer. We ended up deciding for multiplayer format. And then the most interesting question was, who's going to be the voice of the game? Who's talking? So it can be the person, it can be the director, it can be the person making the documentary, and sometimes it's somebody else. And in this case, we chose the player's voice. And it was a great experience, because I put myself in your shoes. Because if I can't put myself in your shoes, then it's not going to work. If I don't understand what you want, then it's not going to work. So we chose another option. We took an idea from video games. The narrator in For McMoney, it's the game. So we don't go and ask you. We don't say you're a reporter. We don't say you're who. You are in the city, and the game is playing alongside you. In Tintin, as you know, it's Tintin who's of interest to us. We don't care that he's a journalist or not. So, as I said before, 2 years of making, and I wanted to tell you the mess that I brought these people into. It was 2 years of hard work, and I want the FMC and the CNC think about the creator and the scenario. And they should know that before a producer, I mean, the question is, should an author be alone in carrying the project before a producer gets involved? So that's the timeline that we worked on. So we submitted the project to the CNC, one of the and for whom we have a wonderful representative who will be with us this afternoon. And we were very fortunate with the CNC because we immediately got to a stage of development which helped us move on to the experimental stage, and Katerina is going to talk about that. And then we spent time between shooting on site and then prototyping, which was done in Montreal. And then at one stage, I skipped a stage, an important stage in the previous slide. In July, we finally reached the Holy Grail. We got to the ENF and Arte's approval, and that's when production really began. And then from there, we were toing and froing for shooting for McMoney and the designers. And so we tried to work with the constraints imposed by the two filming teams. Yesterday, when we were talking about audience engagement, I said 1 year prior to the engagement of the supporters was to make sure that we had an audience to talk to, a player audience, and that was obviously key. So we built partnerships with media titles in different countries. Coming back to Alexandre Brochet was saying yesterday, we need local partners. You need local partners. It's not enough to have an English program in Paris in order to interest Canadian buyers. Promotion has to be done locally in each country. What we tried to do was set up an innovative partnership. So petrol for food, content for audience. It's a playoff that doesn't exist anymore. That was 5 years ago. You need the media to buy in, either financially or editorially. And so that's what we tried to achieve. I'm going very quickly now because we don't have much time. Global Med, Radio Canada, all of these media partners, they played the full McMoney game so that they could write about it in their articles, in their columns. The one that didn't work was Le Monde. They didn't live up to their word. They behaved in a way they've been behaving for the past few years, where they just said, we'd just distribute the story, but we're not going to write anything about it. So they didn't write about the fact that it was innovative. They didn't. Whereas in Germany and in Canada, other countries, they worked for 2-3 months. They wrote innovative articles, fresh articles, and we've relaunched a partnership with Libération, and they did an 8-page pullout on fossil energy, and that was using McMoney, and I think that that's intelligent journalism. Okay, in terms of money, as you can see, there was $860 million, $1,000. And as I said before, we had $270,000, $471,000, and at the time, so with these public institutions, such as Arte, So without their support, based on political decisions, none of this would have existed. We had a meeting in the room next door on the uncertainty of this business. But one thing I want to point out is that public services does have a role to play and helps us move forward. And why does it do it? Well, it's because that's what they're supposed to do. Okay, so that was about the budget. I have 7 minutes, 44 seconds left. We had over 500,000 players between the moment it started and April. So we've had more figures because a new phase has been launched with Libération. So over 500,000 players, over 500,000 visits. And then we've got a small group of hardcore players who've played several times, have tried all the different scenarios, etc. They've played the game to its full capacity. And so, as we know, TV always talks about age groups and audience profiles. How many housewives of between the age of X and X have I got watching? Why for a production team, there are some key moments in the production process, and that is how audiences identify with your work, own the work, and then turn it into something else. So we've got a team of designers who were very impatient, and one of these people launched a whole set of tweets. So we had some blog users who, and all of these people were were posting on Twitter how they played the game and their feelings. Then there was a job posting and site advertising the fact that you can make money by playing Fort McMurray. So you've got people from the actual city who protested against the position that we took in the game. And but that's the purpose of what I do, is to stimulate debate. So you can offer data about a problem and offer opportunities to resolve the problem or overcome the problem. So a group of people set up a Twitter account called Hack McMoney. Now, if they're in the room, I have to say to them, well done. I take my hat off to them, but I must say they were a pain in the neck because we discovered a number of bugs in the game because of that. However, we have a priest who's there, and every Sunday, and answering questions during the sermon on McMoney. So every week he would protest against our work, saying every week that Jesus had no problem with money. So that's quite an interesting insight into our work. And then another input was a singer who was at the time on a crusade against shale sand, tar sands, and then they were invited to come and visit the site. However, the greatest success, I would say, the greatest victory we won was somebody who on Twitter drew their own map with the characters and the city. And if you look at it carefully, it's practically the same map that I had drawn on my own thought board, on my own whiteboard. So people at Arte, I don't know if they're in the room now, you know, on TV we talk about millions. So it's better if you've got 500,000, for example, it's better to say 500,000. Sounds better. So when I'm talking about R&D, I'm not talking about laboratories anymore. However, I do think we're still researching and development, and researching development means that we can fail. And what I think the problem is in our profession is that people try to do things perfectly without seeking failure. Sometimes failure is the mother of success, but today, unfortunately, being a failure is somewhat of a luxury. Right, so there you've got the map that was hand-drawn by one of the players. Okay, and then media moguls, how did they react? Okay, TV doesn't feed or doesn't support the internet. For the past few years, when something on the internet is successful, it comes onto TV. Arte recently asked us to produce a film, so I accepted. But I said, not like last time with Prison Valley. This time we're going to make a real film. So that means we're going on location and we're going to tell another story. So the film was broadcast about a month ago. It's a film where my brother, Philippe Bourreau, my comrade in arms, who always works with me, he knows how to warm cameras up with his hands, and we filmed on location. So we returned to the location and we observed what the film, or how the film had influenced a number of people, how people had identified, felt about the film. It's a little bit like a farewell, and it's a thanks, sort of a gesture of thanks to the team. And we tried to do what oil companies don't do, i.e. we tried to mend or put back what we took out. I was then contacted to take part in a book, a short publication which is going to come out in April. Nancy Brookson is a writer in France, but from Alberta, and Noël Miquelin. There are other books and writings about this town and what it represents. So I have 49 seconds left. It's the first time I've finished ahead of time. If there are any questions, I can take any questions. Thank you very much, first of all. Thank you very much. It's at times like this that I find that there is a lot of injustice in what I do, because I could sit and listen to you for much longer. What I suggest is we take a few questions from the floor, and we'll take a little bit of time from the lunch break, which is a lot less interesting than what you have to say. Now, if there are any questions, and I'm sure there are many questions from the audience, so 2 or 3 questions from the audience. First of all, hi. I just wanted to have your audience shares between Canadian and French audience of the 450,000 people who watched the video, and the share in the audience for the 25,000 hardcore players. What was the breakdown per country in the audiences? Okay, I don't have the figures to hand. What I do know, in terms of French-speaking audiences, there were more French-speaking people. What I do know about is the debate, and that's quite odd, because my Quebec producers said, why do you want to do this? That's a really typical French idea. And I insisted, and I said, no, this is at the heart of my project. And I must say that the Germans debated a little bit, the Canadians a little more, and the French hugely. That shows that audiences don't identify in the same way to the same object. What I can say again, what I believe, is that this is the first time that we've got an RFI-France web documentary that has generated so much interest in Germany. Now, there's a reason for that, because the environment in Germany is at the top of many people's list in terms of concerns. David, you have to be pretty quick with your answers. Okay, 2 more quick questions. Hi. Well done for this project and the presentation. I just wanted to know what's happening with the documentary today. Can we still play? Are there? I mean, I've seen that it's not Flash compatible, so I can't get it on my iPhone. What's online? What's available now online? Right now, at 3 a.m., I was sending emails again. We've still got some buds. We've gone from 3 to 6 week cycles. There is a monthly reinstallment, but we've got a bug, and we are trying to put Flash back on. And it has a sort of like, it's refreshed every 3 weeks, and it's on torrent and on Arte. Right, well, thank you very much again. Thank you for being with us again this year, and really well done. Congratulations for all this hard work.